Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, I'm back. It's episode 2 of Captain Says, and as I said in the first one, I'm going to have a guest, and today, whenever you're listening, this guest is Mr. Seth Everett. Hello to you.
Hi there. So, on Captain Says, are you still the captain? Is that how it works?
I guess so.
Okay, that's the official word. And
not the captain, just captain.
Just captain, okay. Well, I'm still mad at you either way.
Why is that?
Well, number one, in the last edition of the Peach and Black podcast, you were so kind in giving me a shout out at the end of your ultimate podcast. Yeah. And it wasn't just you, it was the other guys too, said such kind things, and you bring up Mountain Dew.
But it used to be your preferred choice of drink.
It's not anymore. I quit after 18 years.
Well, see, I haven't...
This is going to sound like a commercial. Do you have commercials on your show?
No.
Okay, well, you're going to have one now. Because if anybody wants to know, I lost 26 pounds on a new diet program.
About 13 kilos, roughly, yeah.
There you go. Thanks for the translation. And the biggest thing I did was quit Mountain Dew after 18 years of having at least one of those a day. Yeah. I quit. And the last night, this is really funny, the last night before I started this program, it's a 30-day program, and I was home alone. My wife was away, and my kids were asleep. I'm home alone. I'm getting ready to start this new program first thing in the morning, and I go to take my garbage out, and I see a 12-ounce Mountain Dew. And I go, I can't start this with this hanging here. Like, it's too much torture.
That's right.
So at 11:30 at night, I drank it. And then I took a picture.
You start at midnight. That's fine.
Right. That's what I said. I said, I better get this in. And I guzzled it. And I had the empty bottle. And I took a picture of the empty bottle. And I kid you not, as I did this, I tweeted it. And I said, thanks for the memories.
Yeah.
I was emotional about leaving Mountain Dew. And so here I am. I'm on this health kick. I'm all positive. And the first thing I hear on my favorite podcast is, hey, keep drinking that Mountain Dew. I'm like, oh, my God.
Well, see, that's because I haven't talked to you for months and months.
Yes, seriously.
I didn't even know.
You have this idea for your new show, right? You have this Captain Says podcast, and you're all excited about it.
Oh,
and you said,
it's exciting.
I got to get you on. I said, you're like, I got to get you on. I said, great. I don't respond to you for 3 days. And what do I see on Twitter? Episode 1 with the Jesse. You have the Jester, my pal, my best friend. I'm like, wow, this is what happened. He dumped me in 3 days. So I'm mad at you twice.
You'll get over it.
Thanks for having me on there.
That's all right.
All right, let's start the show. Coming down in 3, 2, 1. Thanks for having me on.
Yay. So,
yes,
you're doing a new comic thing, which I don't know. Yeah, let's just go straight into that.
Okay.
Now,
all right.
Is this it's a TV thing? It's a podcast thing? What is it?
It's new
TV, right?
It's going to be on TV. Right now it's online, and it's streaming. It's a crazy story. Do you want to hear the crazy story?
Go for it.
Okay, so I've been a sportscaster for 20 years. And
what's your preferred sport of talking about things?
Well, I worked for Major League Baseball for 18 years. I do that a lot. If you ever notice, that's just where my career has gone. That's actually how I got involved in Spreecast, was because they wanted me to do baseball things. And then they said, well, can you do things off the beaten path? And I said, yeah, why don't I find a show about Prince? And next thing you know, that crazy year of my life started. But outside of that, mostly I do sports stuff. And I got invited to a luncheon by a company that I don't know if they're big in Australia, but I'll throw it out there. Have you ever heard of Tops? baseball cards.
I've heard of them.
Okay, so Topps is got a 50-year, probably more than 50 years of a great legacy, and they had this luncheon to present to the media their 2015 line of cards. And I was there. There were a bunch of media people that I wanted to see, and it was a chance to all gather around. And I was going to do something, to help promote Topps, and it was a very, very fine deal. But it was supposed to snow that evening. It's the first week in February, and in America, that's winter.
Cold.
In New York City, it's freezing. So because I'm a smartass, can you say smartass on this
Sure
podcast?
You can.
Okay. Because I'm a smartass, I just said, all right, Topps, I know we all love the baseball cards, but I don't think we all want to sleep here because we're going to get stranded. Can we get this thing going? Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And people laughed, whatever. It was just meant in jest. And all of a sudden, this guy standing, half a room away from me says, "You ain't kidding. I have to go to the airport." I said, "Sir, leave now. Forget Topps. Forget the baseball cards. Just go now." And people laughed. It was just being chit-chatty. That's all I was doing. And all of a sudden, I'm now closer to him, so I said what I would say to anybody. Just being friendly, and I said, "Hey, I hope you're going someplace warm." That's what you would say. That's what a nice person would say to a person.
Yeah. And
the guy says, "Actually, I'm going to Wisconsin." I'm not testing you on your geography, but no one in their right mind would go to Wisconsin in the first week in February. So anyway, the guy says, "Yeah, I'm going to Wisconsin." I said, "Why are you going to Wisconsin? Who goes to Wisconsin in February?" And he says, "I'm going for a comics convention."
Ooh.
I said, "Wait a second, you're going to Wisconsin for fun?"
Who chooses to go there?
He says, "No, it's work." I said, "That's a job?" I said,
"How do I get that job?"
How do I get that job? Oh my God. And he says, "I do some public relations for comic conventions." I said, "Oh my God." All of a sudden, this guy, I know you've heard of the New York Yankees, right? Yes. You've heard of the New York Yankees.
Actually,
this guy,
just remember that because I've got something to say about that later on.
Okay. So this guy who covers the New York Yankees, this guy Brian, is standing next to me cracking up at this conversation and tries to take a shot at me. This is something you would do. You would totally do this. He literally says, he puts his arm, he's got a New York accent, and he puts his arm around me and goes, "This guy could do a better superhero show than a sports show any day." And I'm like, ha ha, ha ha, funny. And the guy responds, he's like, "Well, they're actually launching this thing called ConTV." I said, "What the bleep is ConTV?"
He says, with a K.
C-O-N.
With a C.
C-O-N-T-V. If you go to ConTV.com, you can see this thing. And he says, "Well, it's this new venture that they're starting. They're marketing it as Netflix for nerds." I said, "Interesting." He says, "Do you want to talk to the head of programming for it?" I said, "Sure." So it takes me 10 days to 2 weeks to find the guy. But I find the guy. He's based in California. I talk to him, and we have this great conversation. And he says, "Would you consider doing a show about superheroes?" And I said, "Well, it would be kind of like a This Week in Football." Now that can, any kind of football, there's always these weekly highlight shows. And,
is there that much going on in the comic world, every week?
That's the fascinating thing. I'll give you a typical week, right? This week there was the season finale of Gotham. There's an episode of The Flash.
Oh, okay, so we're not just talking comic books.
We're not talking about, right.
Comic-related things. Okay.
It's not, excuse me, in issue number 92 of Ultimate Spider-Man, he fought Doc Ock, not Mysterio. It's not that. It's not that. It's the movies, Avengers just opened up, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel's Daredevil. If you've seen Marvel's Daredevil, it's fascinating. I mean, there's so much going on. So I said that we should talk about it, and he stopped me right there because there is a very popular American show, something that I'm not involved in, but it's a very popular American show called ESPN College Game Day, which what they do on ESPN is they do a regular college football, American football, but a college football show, but they do it on campuses across the country. So there's 8,000 Oklahoma fans or 8,000 Nebraska fans. These fans go bananas. They dress up, they're rabid, and it's like a big pep rally. He says, "What if we did that at a comics convention every week. I went, what? He's like, you're talking Avengers, you're talking Spider-Man, you're talking Superman, but there's people dressed up in costumes behind you. I said, oh my God, that sounds like so much fun. So, long story short, I pitched it to the guy, he pitched it to his bosses, and we have a season. We're going to do 6. We're greenlit for 6, and hopefully we get greenlit for more. It looks very positive that we're going to get greenlit for more. So the first show was in Las Vegas. That's up now if you go to ConTV.com. Or if you follow me on Twitter at Seth_Everett, I tweeted links to all this stuff. And then we did an Avengers special, because Avengers just came out. And then this week we're going to be in Philadelphia, and I'm going to meet the girl who plays Black Canary on Arrow. I'm very excited. And and I'm going to be doing this ConTV thing. So you asked, but it's a crazy story, and I thought you'd get a kick out of it.
So
all because I opened my big mouth. That's literally the only reason why the story happened.
So every week it's going to be like at a different comics convention.
Right. It's really every other week to be logistically accurate. So this week we're in Philadelphia, and then in 2 weeks we're in St. Louis. And then after St. Louis, the first week in June, I believe we're in Sacramento, California. We're going to be in Chicago, and then it's whether or not they want to greenlight the whole thing to go further. But we'll see.
So you get to fly all around these places. So ConTV is paying for these flights, right?
Well, yeah, and it's funny because the guy was very
deal.
Well, he was warning me. He was like, it's a lot of travel, and I said, I've worked for baseball teams. I don't know, Yeah. Your listeners knowing this will know baseball travel is the craziest. I mean, you play 162 games and you only have like 15 off days. So you travel to 3 cities in a week. Like that's a lot of travel. This is not a lot. Once every 2 or 3 weeks, that's not a lot of travel. It's fine. It gets me out of the house, and I love going to these places. The energy in these places is fascinating because I just 10 years ago they would have mocked this kind of a project, and it just shows you it's a growing thing. And what I always like, and it's what I believed in Spreecast, it's what I believe. I love doing projects that are going places. I love the idea that they're not losing audience. And I'm not giving up sports, but I just think that I used to read this stuff all the time. I mean, I was 20 years ago. I would watch Batman the Animated Series. I would check out, Christopher Reeve and the Star Wars movies and, all these different things. And now it's all coming back. So it's a huge genre, and I hope ConTV does really well. I'm confident.
See, I haven't seen the Avengers movie, but I'll get to it.
I want to hear your review when you see it.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. Has it opened in Australia yet?
I think it has. I don't know. See, I don't pay that much attention to things like that because I'm not the person who has to see something as soon as it comes out.
But you like to tell everybody as soon as you're seeing it.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like a checklist, like the way you do it before you can put your feet up at your couch, before you will get comfortable, you have to make sure everybody knows what you're watching.
Sure.
I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it'll say, Captain's watching The Late Show.
That's right.
I'm on to you. I am on to you.
But I don't know. I think as I'm getting older, I'm over that queuing up for things and all the hype. I can wait 2 weeks and see it. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I get that mentality. I think Star Wars is going to be different. I think Star Wars is, because even though I didn't hate the prequels, I think the idea that they're doing a continuation for after Return of the Jedi, I think that's the one I'm going to need to see right away. That's the goosebumps. That trailer gave me goosebumps. I was
the trailer
beyond
was really
excited.
Good. Is there a release date for that?
It's going to be around Christmas.
Okay, that's going to be good. I will be seeing that.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, and now Warner Brothers is getting involved. Your friend Warner Brothers, because they're doing the Batman versus Superman or Superman v Batman or whatever it's called, and I've been so that's coming out in March. It's one thing after another, and it's funny. What I'm noticing in my old age is I'm become much more critical.
Oh, me too. Me too.
For example, I'm a comic book nerd, and I thought the violence was gratuitous.
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago, I would have made fun of a person that said violence was gratuitous.
Yep. See,
So-
with those, like you're talking about Gotham and The Flash,
The Flash is
I watched
brilliant.
both. I've watched both of those, and I've
Mhm.
only watched like the first 10 or 12 episodes of both of them. So I'm
Yeah.
still like at least 10 episodes behind. So I can't really talk about it. But I really
Yeah.
like both the shows.
Well, I will say this about
I think I like
the
Flash more than Gotham.
The Flash is brilliant. What they're doing with it is they're not afraid to acknowledge that it's a show based on a comic book.
Yeah.
I just think that they're not trying to tweak it too much. You know, Smallville, it was he couldn't wear the costume.
Yeah.
And Arrow is very dark. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., to me, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just keeps telling you about how they don't have the Avengers on it. Right?
Is that the one?
You know,
That's the one with the guy
who supposedly died. Coulson.
No. The actual actor. He was in a show, like a comedy show.
The new
old
adventures of old Christine. Yeah,
that guy.
Same
As
guy.
soon as I saw he was
Same
in
guy.
it, I'm like, oh, I've got to watch it, but I still haven't watched it.
He's a guy who died in the first Avengers movie and then was brought back to life in an arc that took literally 25 episodes to explain.
So a whole
And it was like, somebody said to me, they said, Coulson's still alive? I said, yes, Coulson's still alive. And they said, when did that happen? I said, there's not enough hours to explain. You need to like look it up. That's Wikipedia can't explain how Coulson came back. But no, The Flash is brilliant. Can I tell you one thing about Gotham? Since we're on this, I didn't know we were going to be talking about this stuff, but Gotham, there's one big mistake that I think they made on Gotham, and tell me if you agree with this. I thought the biggest mistake was killing the Waynes in the first episode.
right at the start, yeah.
You should learn this is Gotham, this is not Batman. So how about spend the year getting to know the Waynes, and they should be killed in the finale.
Of the first season, yeah.
Of the first season. Because then you see the ramifications. Like you could see, in Gotham they talk about, everything changed once the Waynes were killed. Well, how? Why?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Because you haven't gotten to know them, there's no
hook.
Emotional investment,
Like,
as soon as they die at the start, you're just like, oh, okay, they're dead. But if you, like you said, if you've watched them for a whole year, that's going to hit you a lot harder when they're killed.
You become invested in them.
First episode, yeah.
Yeah, you become invested in them. And I just think that, from my standpoint, I would love to see Bruce Wayne happy.
Just for a while.
Just for a bit. Like, like when I saw the pilot and they showed the scene, I'm comparing it to Batman Begins. I'm comparing it to Tim Burton's Batman. I'm comparing it to every cartoon I've ever seen. No offense, I've seen the Waynes die before. Yeah. I've seen the Waynes die countless times. Why did they need to die in the first episode? Like, to me, it became anticlimactic. And I don't know. I think there's so many good things that they've got going for them, but that was a big thing they're missing. And it's watchable, it's enjoyable, but it doesn't hook me like The Flash does.
I like the Penguin guy. Whoever that
he's great.
That actor,
he's
great.
Good. Yeah. We're supposed to get him on one of the ConTV shows.
Ooh.
I'll tweet out when we get him. I can't wait.
And the girl, the little girl, the Catwoman, she's good.
She's
I like
she's
her
great too. Yeah, she's like a gymnast or something.
She reminds me of that girl who was in Kick-Ass.
Yes,
she reminds me of her.
Yeah. She looks a little like Michelle Pfeiffer.
She does. She's got that little sort of ducky face.
Which apparently Michelle Pfeiffer has Uptown Funk. What does Michelle Pfeiffer have to do with that song? I don't understand that.
Okay, so it's ConTV.com.
ConTV.com. Check it out. Or follow me on Twitter because I tweet out the links every time there's a show. It's fun. It's 5 segments. There's 2 panel discussions. So like the state of whatever the news of the day is, and then special guests. So by the time you release this, we'll probably have done the Philly show. I mean, a legendary comic book artist, Neil Adams, is going to be our guest. He wrote some like brilliant comics in the 70s and 80s, and the 60s for that matter. Great Hall of Famer. And I haven't done my research on him, so I don't know too much, but we're supposed to meet with the creator of Mystery Science Theater.
Oh, I have watched that show.
It's great. You'll have to give me tips.
I have watched a bunch of episodes of that, and I like that show.
You would be a perfect host for that.
Ooh.
Could you imagine if we were doing, like, you want to do this show about literally nothing, but could you imagine if you guys did a DVD commentary, like a commentary track for random movies? That would be a lot of fun.
If that was happening, I'd be choosing movies like Airplane.
That's fine.
Because I love
Airplane,
that movie.
but Airplane, you would want to have the sound, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
No,
See?
you know what would be great? If you did Under the Cherry Moon. Oh my God. If I could hear you and your three cronies do a commentary track for Under the Cherry Moon, I would listen to that. I would queue up my DVD of that movie and play it at the same time.
I think, hasn't someone already done that? Like Prince Podcast or somebody? They did Purple Rain or Under the Cherry Moon.
I don't know. I only listened to one podcast about Prince.
It's the only one. Now, if I was going to do a commentary, I couldn't do it to a movie I really liked because I'd just want to watch the movie again and I wouldn't be saying anything. I'd just sit there watching it, not talking.
Yep. Yeah.
So I couldn't do Airplane.
The best DVD commentaries I ever heard were the Seinfeld DVDs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, those are so funny. The commentaries are just as funny as the episodes.
So, okay, you just linked me back to what I was going to say before. You mentioned New York Yankees before.
Yes.
Okay, politics time.
Okay.
Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Now, I know Jon Stewart has already made this connection, but he's just Larry David. Have you heard the guy talk?
Yes.
Have you heard him talk? He's hilarious.
Yeah.
What he's saying.
He looks a little like him too, yeah.
The hair, yeah. It's hilarious. Like, he announced I'm going to be president, and then at the press conference he's like, but hurry up, I've got places to go, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
And the way, not what he says is funny, but the way he says it, you just hear Larry David. Like, and you said New York Yankees before, when he was Steinbrenner.
He was Steinbrenner, yeah.
He sounds just like him.
My baseball people said Ken Phelps. Ken Phelps, but they had to get Ken Phelps.
It's so funny. Like, I mean, he won't have a chance against Hillary, but,
no.
It's just, I just want to hear him talk.
I don't know.
It's so funny.
It's so interesting to see the way people are trying. The media is going out of their way to tear Hillary Clinton apart. I'm not a huge Hillary supporter or not. I'm looking at it objectively, but I just find it fascinating how every person has an opinion on her. I don't know. I don't know how she gets through. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. The way she does, handle, all this crap.
She just looks. She looks like she can be rattled, and I think like these other people are going to be sharks. I'm interested to see how it goes. Like I will vote. I pay a lot of attention to this, and I'm not afraid. I mean, if you want to put people to sleep, we can talk politics. But my point on it is, it's amazing to see her now. It feels like she's constantly deflecting.
Yeah. But,
I'm just curious.
But what else could she be doing, when just every minute they're like throwing this stuff back at her? What else can you do?
She's a grandmother now. She's a grandmother now.
If I could vote, I'd probably vote for Hillary. I would be voting Democrat, I think, if I was American.
I voted for Barack Obama twice.
Good.
Twice.
I say good.
Twice. I met President Bush though once.
Ooh.
The second President Bush. I met him. Him once, and it was W. It was a great thrill. It was a great thrill to meet him. I mean, he was in office. He was in office at the time. I met the acting president. I don't know if you know this about the original the second President Bush, but he was an owner of a baseball team.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
He used to own the Texas Rangers, and I was working for the commissioner's office at the time, and I went to the opening of the Washington Nationals baseball stadium. And it was in Washington, and President Bush threw out the first pitch and then was going to sit down with a journalist for MLB. And he was going to be in our booth. And we got to be there. We took a picture. I have a picture with him. It's hanging in my office. And then he signed all the pictures and sent them all. He was completely pleasant. And it's so amazing to me how perception in the media. I mean, I'm not saying I supported a lot of the things he did. Again, I'm not getting into a political thing. All I'm saying is he was a sharp guy. You're not surprised after meeting him that he's not a buffoon. You know what I mean? And so not only did I have great respect for the office, but he was a pleasant guy. I remember Bud Selig was the baseball commissioner, so he was my boss at the time. And he says, did you, I can't do a Bush impression, but he goes, so you work for Major League Baseball? And I said, yes, sir. And he says, so Bud Selig signs your checks? And I said, actually, sir, yes, he does. And he says, do they pay you a lot? And I said, actually, Mr. President, that's something I'd like to discuss with you.
No, but meeting any president, whether they're president now or they were president even 20 years ago, that's a big thing. I mean, whether you like them or not,
sure.
They were the president of the United States. That's a big thing.
Leader of the free world. I mean, it's a pretty major deal. And I completely agree. When I found out there was a chance we were going to meet him, I was thrilled. I remember finding out, though, that you needed a sport jacket, and I didn't have one. And I remember running to a mall, like 2 hours before meeting him, and I was literally buying a jacket that was literally going to get worn once. And I was like,
Tell me you returned it. Tell me you returned it afterwards.
Of course I did.
That's right.
That's okay. I remember one time when I was in high school, we found out something was we had to wear a tie. And 3 of my friends, we went to go buy a tie, and the salesman goes, well, these ties, they all had animal prints. And he goes, a portion of the proceeds go to saving that animal. Yeah. I said, okay. My one friend bought the dinosaur.
Good one.
I said, I don't think they're going to save them. Yeah. I think they lost their chance.
Unless they're going back in time.
Yeah, so time travel, that's a big part of The Flash.
Yes. I've got to catch up on that. I just need time. There's never enough time. I don't know how people can work and have a life at the same... I can't do it. I need to be fully retired to have enough time to watch all these shows and do all the things I want to do. I don't know how people can do it.
Stop going to these cockamamie restaurants that you're always going to.
Oh, you got to eat. You got to eat.
Yeah, but you can eat at home.
And a lot cheaper too, I know.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
But going back to what we said before, like, there's a new burger place opened up in North Sydney, and it's got insane reviews, like it's the best thing ever. And it's been open about a month. And it's like an hour queue any time of the day that you go there. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I can wait another month until it's, the hype has died down, and I can only line up for 15 minutes.
Well, and that, when you're juggling like that, breakfast can wait. Bazing.
So, in all this con stuff, ConTV.
Yeah. Oh, we're back to this.
Where does the Big Bang Theory sit?
Oh, it's hysterical. It's very funny.
I
think it's very funny. But I think it's also a microcosm of where we are as a society that a show like that can be that popular.
Is it that popular in, like, nerd world? Because at first I thought it was, but I think that sort of died off a bit now.
Well, it's been around for, I believe they're in their 8th season now. So I think that in the height of its popularity, I thought what they do is they do a healthy mix of the nerd stuff versus, some of the, just regular sitcom stuff. I just think it's a really smart sitcom. Meanwhile, do you watch Two Broke Girls?
I do. I love that show.
Now, to me, that show jumped the shark 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's changed.
Enough. I get it. I understand. And it's just, and again, maybe I'm getting older, but it's just silly, juvenile sex jokes.
Yeah, but I like Kat.
It's not sharp anymore. It's not, Well, she was in a comic book movie.
She was, yes.
She was in Thor.
She
was in Thor.
No, I said this before, I watch a lot of comedy. But see, the thing I don't get, like with the Big Bang Theory, right? That's by Chuck Lorre. And at the time, like, I couldn't figure out how the same brain, like Chuck Lorre, I couldn't figure out how he could write something as good as the Big Bang Theory and then also write something as what I considered totally hopeless was 2.5 Men.
I never watched 2.5 Men.
I like Charlie Sheen, but I just thought that show was like the dumbest level of sitcom that you could make. But then on the other hand, he's doing Big Bang Theory, which was like the smartest one. And I just couldn't figure out how the same guy could do those two shows. And have them both be insanely popular. Yeah, no, it's strange. But he also did Broke Girls. That's the thing. Like, he runs the gamut. It's all over the place. It's very interesting. I never watched 2.5 Men. I never caught it. I only watched a few random episodes when Charlie Sheen was in it.
Yeah.
But then when Ashton Kutcher came in, I thought, I'll watch this because I watched all of that 70s show and I thought that was good. So I watched the last, 2 or 3 years of Two and a Half Men. And it was okay, but it was still, pretty, lowbrow comedy to me.
Right. There's so many smart things out there now.
Yeah.
That there's so many, intelligent... We're in a truly golden age of entertainment that there's so many smart comedies out there that I don't see a place for the goofball dumbness. I don't know.
There's definitely a place. What about David Letterman? He's retiring. He's only got 2 weeks left to go.
I know. I'm a huge David Letterman fan. There are 2 great David Letterman moments for me that just stuck with me. First, he's one of the greatest interviewers there's ever been.
Yep.
And one of them's a Prince story. So you want the Prince story first or the non-Prince story?
I'll go Prince first.
The Prince story was when he performed Dolphin, when they had the Release the Gold Experience rally.
Yeah.
I was in college, and a bunch of my buddies, we got in a car and we drove to New York City to participate in that.
Yeah.
So I was at the Release the Gold Experience party in New York City, and that was the night he performed Dolphin on David Letterman.
Wow.
That's a decent story. The funniest interview he ever did was right at the heart of the Michael Jackson case.
Mm.
And he had Janet Jackson on the show.
Yeah.
And David Letterman, in his deadpan perfect, says... Well, I just want to start the interview with what's on everybody's mind. How's Tito?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that. That to me was one of the funniest, the perfect icebreaker.
That's classic
to
Dave.
Right, he got Janet Jackson to just smile about what could have been a very awkward subject, and he literally he got everybody's attention. That was perfect.
Oh, it's going to be sad. It's only 2 weeks to go.
I know. I wish him the best. I give credit, though, because Jimmy Fallon's doing a fantastic job with The Tonight Show.
I just wonder what Dave, if he's actually going to retire, or he's going to or he's going to come back in 6 months with a maybe once a week hour talk show or something.
He's going to retire.
You think he's done?
I absolutely think he's done. I absolutely think he's done.
The thing I like about these last few weeks and few months is, like Craig Ferguson, once the announcement was out there, they're just so much more relaxed, and the shows are so much looser.
Sure.
Dave, the last few weeks has been great.
Doesn't care.
Exactly.
Doesn't care.
And they're showing all this useless stock footage, and they're like, we've got to use it up. Because after that, there's nothing.
No, it's very smart. It's very smart and very weird the way it happened. But David Letterman's had a remarkable career, and he is one of the best interviewers. And the show he did after 9/11, the first time that they brought the Late Show back after 9/11, was amazing. I mean,
he was the
9/11. Yeah, I mean, I was living in New York at the time, so I mean, it was very appropriate to see. And I remember that, my quick 9/11 story. My father was across the street from the building, and my sister saw the second plane hit the Trade Center live. She saw it happen. She was walking towards that area and saw the second plane hit. And she didn't know about the first one at the time. So those are my close calls, and everybody in my family was safe, but I lost a couple of people from my high school, and I knew people that were perished in 9/11. And stuff like David Letterman, stuff like what the baseball teams did, it's a whole separate show, but 9/11, living in New York in 9/11, I'll never forget. And David Letterman's one of those lasting images when he came back and said that he was going to do a show. And it was really special.
With no audience? Was that show? Oh
no,
he Hurricane or something.
Right, he had Regis Philbin on, and he said because we need something to make fun of.
But yeah, I think all the other late night shows were in repeats that week, and he was the only one who came back on the Monday night. I think it was Monday.
Well, I was too young. I was too young to appreciate Johnny Carson.
Yeah,
I was in college right when David Letterman went to CBS, and so I kind of watched that show evolve. And David Letterman was my guy. And I will say though, but Jimmy Fallon's won me over. Jimmy Fallon has absolutely won me over. I just think he's very unique and brilliant. I think he's a smart young guy, and I just like the way he incorporates a younger audience. I love the stuff that he does with the tweets, and I love the stuff that he does, with social media, and he knows all those things, and he's up on it, so it's not like he's reading cue cards and he, hashtag, he knows what he's doing. it's just you know what I'm saying. Like you can tell if somebody says they know what that is, but whether that they really, really do.
Yeah. He hasn't won me over yet, though. And it's been a while.
All right.
And I don't watch every show. I just watch it these days if I like the guests. But yeah, the incorporating the young people is the thing I sort of don't like about it. Maybe I'm just too used to Dave.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just different styles, and I'm not interested in what Jon Stewart's going to do or Stephen Colbert, or I'm not interested. Just give me Seinfeld and Friends reruns. That's the way I end my days.
That'll put you straight to sleep.
Put straight to sleep. The greatest line in Friends is when he says, "You're off to China?" He says, "The country? Nope. Those dishes in my mother's break front." That and the same scene when he says, "I know I got a couple of beers in me, but I love you, man." And Chandler says, "I'm still on my first. And I just think you're nice." Good stuff.
Anyway, what about something else?
Do you watch Veep? Veep is hysterical.
I don't, but I keep hearing about it, and I should watch it, even though it's, I think, in the 4th or 5th season now.
Yeah, but they're short seasons. They're taking the BBC model of like shorter
10
seasons.
episodes or something.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think it's really smart. See, Netflix has Orange is the New Black. There's a great show called Lilyhammer.
I've heard of those shows.
And House of Cards. House of Cards is brilliant.
I'm not big on drama at all.
Yeah, but Orange is the New Black is a comedy drama. Like, if you notice in the award, it's from the person who created Weeds.
I liked Weeds.
Then you'd love Orange is the New Black. Orange is the New Black is just brilliant. It's just smart.
That's the female prison one, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she gets sentenced to 18 months, which is now turned into 4 years.
Okay. No, that's the other thing. Another thing, getting older, I don't have the attention span really to watch like a 42-minute show, like an hour show. Like that's why I'm good with it, like half-hour comedies at like 19 minutes, 21 minutes.
Sure, I understand.
But stuff like The Flash and Gotham, I just fly through that because it's you're so into it, you don't even realize, wow, that's 44 minutes gone. But,
well, then you'd love Daredevil. That's a Netflix thing too. Daredevil is it's the guy. It was the Irish guy from Boardwalk Empire. Charlie Cox plays this blind lawyer who fights crime at night as this vigilante, and it's like a crime drama. It has nothing to do with comic books. It's like if you've never seen a comic book show or a comic book anything, you fall in love with these characters, and then they reference stuff. So, for example, the lawyers are trying to get their office set up, and Matt Murdock says, "Why is the rent so cheap?" He says, "Well, this building sustained a lot of damage during, that incident." That incident that he's talking about is when the aliens came and attacked the Earth in the Avengers movie. And you're like, I know that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like if something happens in one show or movie, it happens in another one, and the ramifications are, concurrent. And I don't know. I just think that's.
I really like stuff like that.
It's a thinking man. It's a thinking man show.
I like stuff like that when a show references something that happened, either in another show or a movie.
Yeah.
And unless you've seen it, you don't know. But if you know, then you know, and you're like, oh, that.
Right. Yep, I love it. Well, somebody said to me, because one of my biggest, well, I'm not giving away anything from Avengers, but somebody said to me, they said they wanted Coulson. I mean, it's not a major plot point, but the guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they said they wanted him why couldn't he be in the Avengers? He said, because if you haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they'd have to explain how he came back to life, and that would take 25 hours, and it's only a 2-hour movie.
So much TV. I could talk TV. I could talk comedy.
So is that
for a long time?
I'll admit I protested and I didn't listen to your Jesse show.
Oh, that's okay.
No, I want to. I will, but I didn't listen because I was protesting. It was my silent protest. Nobody
knew about it.
No, nobody knew about my protest, but I protested. So what did you guys talk about then?
We
talked about his 17 trips to Paisley Park?
Not really.
Really?
We just talked about music. Like, I don't want these shows to be like all Prince shows.
Stuff, right.
Like, there can be a bit of that, but that's,
right.
I'm not that interested in what he's doing anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm
no, we
interested in what
talked
he did.
about music in general. We talked about he's recorded like a bunch of spoken word poetry stuff and he's got like other people to do the music behind it. We talked about that. We did talk. I did ask him, why he moved to Minneapolis, but yeah, it wasn't anything Prince. There was a bit of Prince talk, but not a lot.
Well, that's good. It's interesting because I did read the book. Did you read the book that I told you about?
Which book?
There's a book by a guy named Alan Light.
Oh no, I haven't yet.
Called "Let's Go Crazy," and it's.
I read the excerpt
that I sent you.
Yeah, I'll get to the book.
It's about the lead-in
all
and
the Purple Rain era.
Everything Purple Rain, and it's all about it shows a brief history about how we got to the point of Purple Rain. And then it talks about the music, then the movie, but the behind the scenes. I mean, the behind the scenes is brilliant. And it's really enlightening to read that book knowing what I know from having done the show in 2013, but also to listen to you guys and to just talk to some of the people that were involved back then. And oh my God. When they tell when they tell Wendy how to do the interviews, and he says, "Just tell the truth." Yeah,
I can imagine the reaction to that.
That is fantastic. It's an enlightening book, and like I said, I'm a huge fan. I was a huge fan before the show, and I still am a huge fan. But it's just interesting to read a book like that because it's very journalistic. I think it's very fair because I think for anything that would come off as critical, it matches in praise. And to me, that's all I ask for. Is I mean, I don't want to steal the Fox line, but give me proper journalism. Like here's a perfect example. I'll give a sports analogy. Barry Bonds. You've heard of Barry Bonds?
Yes.
Okay. Barry Bonds, to me, the media never covered him correctly. I'll give you an example. I was at the games where he broke the all-time home run record. And everybody knew he was doing steroids. There was no secret about it. But people were so blinded by the fact that he was doing steroids, they never took what he was actually doing and objectively look at it.
Yeah.
And to a greater detail, in San Francisco, where Bonds played, there was such unconditional love for him, they wouldn't acknowledge the steroid accusations, and it was just how great he was.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, why can't we say in the same breath how great a hitter Barry Bonds was, at the same time it was a guy that did steroids?
Yeah.
If anybody asks me who was the greatest home run hitter of my lifetime, I will say Barry Bonds.
Can we say he did steroids? We don't have to say allegedly. That's proven.
Well, it's been proven he never knowingly did steroids. That's what he claims.
Okay. Well, anyway, allegedly, just in case.
He's a fraud. But there's a great book called Game of Shadows, which is all leaked grand jury testimony. So he acknowledges that he did it. It's just what his claim was that he never knowingly did it. He said that he was just following doctor's orders. And, if you believe that, I have a bridge I'd like to sell you.
But that sort of like attitude, that seems to me to be a very American thing. I haven't noticed that in other places. It's like the Bill Cosby thing, right? Again, allegedly, all these things happen with these women over the years, and now, like, not everyone, but there's a big percentage of American, maybe Canadian as well, population, they're just like, that's it, I'm going to ignore everything he's done in the past because of this. It's like, okay, that's
bad.
A
good analogy. No, that's a fair analogy.
The huge comedy icon that he was and possibly still is, but so many people do that.
See, I think the perfect example of that, and it's very funny because the greatest conversations I've ever had with Jesse have been about Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson to me was one of the most disturbed individuals you've ever come across. But when he died, I gravitated toward his music. And I said, wow, he was one of the iconic musicians of my lifetime. And I was lucky to have lived in a time when he was releasing music. Yeah. And I wasn't a Michael Jackson fan like a lot of Prince fans are. A lot of Prince fans, if you like one, you like the other. And I'm not like that. But, I mean, Michael Jackson's music, if I ever told you my dumb story about when I saw Purple Rain, I was 10 years old when I saw Purple Rain, and I bought the cassette, but we didn't have a cassette player in our house. We only had it in my mom's car. And so I put the cassette, and that was my only way to listen to Purple Rain. And when the song Darlin' Nikki came about, my mother took that away, and she took it away and bought me the next day Thriller.
Okay.
Because that was wholesome.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Right. And then when that trial was going on, I was like, wait, that's the guy I was told to listen? And here's Prince selling out Madison Square Garden again?
Yeah.
And I couldn't get over that. I never could get over that. But again, look at it objectively. It's a fantastic analogy because I'm not sitting here trying to take away any of the success that he had. He is a brilliant, brilliant artist. I'm not going to call him a brilliant musician. I'm going to call him a great artist. But he's a fantastic artist who might have been one of the most disturbed people you've ever known. And that isn't even assuming that he did all the things he was accused of.
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough facts to be able to prove it. He was found innocent.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I think it's fair to say he was troubled.
Oh, yeah. But see, that's the thing. Like, with people like that, I mean, most who they call, genius artists, they usually are a bit screwed up in the head because it takes that to be that genius.
I mean, maybe. Maybe. I mean, I think there's a case for that, but it's just amazing to me the way, people need to look at. I'll give you another example. Bruce Jenner.
Yep.
Bruce Jenner was an iconic athlete, okay? This was an Olympic champion. Now, he became a cartoon character when he signed on for that stupid reality show with the porn star. And what?
That's one way of looking at it.
Wait, you haven't seen her best work?
I have.
Okay, so let's acknowledge that her best work. That's where she came from. Okay, yep. She did that video. That's what got her name out there. Now you could give her credit if you want to, what she did with it once she did it. But she did that video. That's what I saw of her first.
Yep. And
he was on board. He signed in. He got royalty checks from it. He made a lot of money off that reality show.
Oh yeah.
Now people are talking about this victim and he's this pioneer for change, and I respect all the stuff that he did, with as far as him wanting to be a woman and all. I respect all of his journey. You know what sickens me? Is that he's doing it on a reality show.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, before that show has aired, which is now, it hasn't actually started yet.
Right,
but
it hasn't aired.
He did the Diane Sawyer
it.
interview. And I think generally, like the general perception is, well, yeah, good on him. He wants to do that. That's fine. I don't think there's that many people going, oh, what happened? What happened to him? He was an American hero, and now look at him. I mean, being on the Kardashian show aside, I think he's come out of it pretty good so far. But after that show airs, that's the thing where I think, really, do you need to show that much of it? And I think even like his Brody, he's got 2 or 3 sons, Brody and someone, they said, do you really have to do that much, private stuff on the show, on your own show? Just do it by yourself, that's fine. Right. But he wants to be the pioneer and be the face.
Right, but if I come down on him, I'm not knocking him for being, transgender or whatever you want to call it. I don't have an opinion on that, and I'm not entitled to an opinion on that. I'm just saying, you're selling your soul to the devil there by being on that show. All right, I'll give you one more story.
Yep.
For 1 year, I worked for a basketball team, and on the basketball team was one of their forwards was a guy named Chris Humphries.
I know Chris Humphries. He married the Kardashian.
There you go. And I found out about that at Madison Square Garden when Kim Kardashian was kicked off the stage by Prince.
Oh, yeah.
I was at that show. Mm. And the next day I saw Chris Humphries and I said, were you there? I said, because it was a really tall guy. And he's like, yeah, I was there. And that's how his team found out that he was dating her.
Ooh.
And it was very funny because then he started getting profiled on that reality show. And I was talking to him every day. At one point, I have audio. I have to send this to you. I have audio of him saying how he thanked me for prepping him for reality television by being on my pregame show.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if that's something that I want to.
Not quite the same thing, but.
Yeah, I don't know if I really want to take credit for that. But anyway, Chris Humphries was a really nice guy. But I was there. I knew him pretty well, and then all of a sudden, it all disappeared. Mm. And it was all played out on television. And I just thought, it was a perfect example of how somebody is just being famous for being famous. It's nauseating. It's just there's this thing out there in society today of people who are literally just famous for doing nothing. And it hurts.
Because, you do stuff.
Right. Look, I try to work. One of my biggest things in this industry, in broadcasting, is I love other people's success when they paid their dues.
Yeah.
What drives me bananas is when guy just comes out of nowhere and he's the hot thing, and he's never had to do it. And I always give credit. There's a guy. His name is Sweeney. I met him in 1994. So think about how long ago that was. And 21 years ago. And when I met him, he was the weekend overnight board op at a radio station. And now he's just entered his 10th season covering the New York Yankees.
Ooh.
And I give him all the success in the world because he paid his dues. He worked at it. He earned it. And I adore people like that. And can I give a shout out there? That's what I love about Liv Warfield. Liv Warfield worked her ass off.
Yeah.
And I root for her success because of what she did. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying
she's earned it.
Whatever success she has, and I don't know how far her career is going to go. You and I can't predict that. All I know is whenever I see her on television or see her, doing some kind of performance or something, I root for her because you know that she appreciates every ounce of the success she has. Whereas there are other people that, I'm not even going to Bieber, but, this Iggy Azalea, this nonsense, and the Nicki Minaj, and the blech, and blech, and blech, and blech. The funniest one, this is when I thought of you, was what's her name? The Ariana Grande?
I really like her. But only...
With her lyrics?
No.
With her bad grammar lyrics?
I only like her visually. I've only heard maybe one song, but just whenever I see a picture, I'm like, oh wow, look at that face, that's a nice face. But then, I read interviews and stuff, and she seems like a total bitch. She walks out on interviews, you photographed me from the left side, not the right side, and she just walks out. That stuff to me is hilarious.
She did, she has that song, what's her hit? Break Free, right? So Break Free, let me get the Break Free lyrics. This is, I don't understand how somebody let this go. Here, Ariana Grande, Break Free, here you go. I only want to die alive, never by the hands of a broken heart. Don't want to hear you lie tonight, now that I've become who I really am. That's not grammar. That's not English.
But the funniest thing is, it's pretty likely she didn't write that. A bunch of adult guys wrote that, and even still, the grammar is horrible.
But that's the thing. Somebody said, let's put it in there. Let's do it.
Yeah, but
I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming her per se because, look, she's trying to get her start. She's trying to break, into the music industry. She's trying to become a big star. But I'm like, what? I only want to die alive? How do you die alive? What does that mean?
Well, you can't die if you're already dead.
And it's not who I really am. It's who I really are. That's what it is. It's who I really are. I go, who I really are? Who talks like that?
That's the thing. Young people talk like that.
If
you're writing a song for a bunch of 12-year-olds, you have to do it in language they're going to understand.
I guess.
So then you've got a bunch of 25-year-olds, males, sitting around going, how can we write a song for 12-year-olds?
I mean,
let's
really,
talk like they do.
It's scary. It's some of the nonsense. And I love the way people. Did you see Saturday Night Live make fun of Iggy Azalea?
No, I haven't seen. When?
They did a spoof of her where a couple of episodes ago where they did if you Google it, I'm sure you can find it. But Iggy Azalea, they made fun of the way she speaks versus the way she raps.
Oh yeah.
And she sounds
she's
like
Australian.
a
She's got a totally Australian accent when she talks, and then when she's rapping, it's 100% American. It's hilarious.
It's not even American. It's African American.
She's been listening to a lot of Nicki Minaj.
Again, with the Nicki Minaj.
But I think I talked about this with Jessie, about Sia. I had never heard of Sia at all, even though she's Australian. But then she got huge in the USA, and the first time I saw her was on Letterman. And I'm like, she has to be someone if she got on Letterman, but I'd never heard of her. Iggy Azalea.
Yeah.
She got really big in America, and I had never heard of her at all until I saw her on, some American awards show or something. And I'm like, who is this Australian who is so famous? I've never even heard her name. It's crazy how some people just go to a different country and get so popular, and then they're still totally unknown.
It's amazing. And now it's all about hits, and it's all about followers on Twitter, and it's freaky because I see these types of things, and I'll compare it. I'm in my 40s, so I grew up in the 80s, and sure, I was a huge Prince fan, but I was a Bruce Springsteen fan. Yeah, I liked U2. I mean, I loved Earth, Wind, and Fire. I loved a lot of different music. But say what you want about Madonna, okay? And Madonna was freaking out there.
Yeah.
Her music backed it up. She was an artist. She could sing, and her songs were unique.
Yeah.
And it was just something edgy about her. Whereas what these girls do is none of that. They don't have any of the substance to back it up. Again, say what you want about Madonna. She was definitely out there. Look, Prince was out there. But Prince was, wearing his crazy outfits, but he was backing it up with brilliant music.
Yeah.
Like, where is the artist today that is looking at the style and the image, but having the substance behind it?
I was thinking Lady Gaga, and then there's a bit of substance behind that, but I don't know how much. I mean, I
don't know.
But then again, she's been accused of ripping Madonna's songs off anyway.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm sure there's somebody out there. I mean, I don't know.
But see, that's the thing. Player sent me a link the other day about...
Oh, you guys still talk now that the show's over?
I talked to him yesterday.
You still friends? Everybody's still friends? You didn't break up like the Beatles?
No, not yet. We'll drag it out a few more years.
Who's the guy that's going to host the reunion show? MC? MC will have the reunion show.
If there's going to be a reunion show, you should be.
Oh, I'll be in it.
But we're still going to do more shows.
I'll drink Mountain Dew.
Yeah, just for that. You can drink the diet one.
No, the diet one's just as bad.
It's worse.
It's just as bad for you. It's not good.
No, Player sent me this link because I said that I just don't listen to any new music anymore. I can't be bothered going out trying to find who's the new, person with substance. Right. I can't sift through all this crap. And he sent me a link and it said late night monologue. A recent study has shown, you stop listening to new music when you're like 33. And I'm like,
is that
that's
it?
About right.
Is that it? Is that what it is? Is that how come the music that we grew up with, they're all in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? You think Justin Bieber's ever getting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
You want to make a bet? 20 years from now?
No way. Who
are they going to put in there in 20 years from now?
He'll be in jail before that.
If he's still alive. But you think about who is going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 20 years from now. It's going to be all these 20-year-olds now when they're 40. They're going to be it because there'll be no one else to put in.
Right.
It is going to be this lot. And as we're older, we look at it and go, all these young people are garbage. But that's what our parents said 20 years ago about the music we were listening to. Mm-hmm. And it's always been like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me that there are artists that we liked that are still like Bruce Springsteen can sell out a 50,000 seat stadium.
Still,
you too can do the same thing. How about when Bono got hurt, in the bicycle accident,
he hurt
and
his
these
hand or something?
These icons came out and filled in for him.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean there aren't good songs. I mean I made fun of it, but the Uptown Funk song is good. It's a James Brown song.
Oh yeah, it's totally derivative, but to all the young people now, a lot of them haven't even heard James Brown, and they're like, "Oh wow, this song's the best song ever."
Right, and I like the "Shut Up and Dance," the "Shut Up and Dance with Me" or whatever it is. I like that. I mean, there's good songs, but the other one is Meghan Trainor.
Oh yeah.
Supposedly she's this great iconic image for young people about, she's not the hourglass figure and, there's all these things and she's a big proponent of that and she speaks to every woman and her message is so great. What does that have to do with bass and treble? What's the point of that?
She's actually in Australia right now and she was on like some show the other night that I watched. And I wasn't that impressed with the performance. I mean, the songs are okay, but her actual performance, which was live, I wasn't that impressed with her singing ability, but who knows?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not trying to knock. Look, I'm not trying to be like this curmudgeon that just makes fun of all these current artists.
Yes, we are. That's what we do. We're old now.
I guess. I don't know. And the violence is gratuitous. It's
There's
not
too much
good.
violence on TV.
There's too much violence.
Yeah. Oh well, so that's it, is it? Are we done?
Are we done? So who's your next guest going to be?
I don't know.
You don't have a next guest?
Not yet. I'll find one. Now, I'm either going to get Mark O'Reilly,
Okay.
or
the great time filler.
the great time filler. He can fill an hour with me. We'll get him, or this Night Child Ethereal, and he did a thing about how great Peach and Black were, and he does it on different people and different. He does. I think
cool.
He reviews like a song a day or a song a week or something.
Oh, nice.
And
if I haven't said it enough, I mean, I know I make fun of you guys, but Peach and Black is a brilliant podcast. It was a brilliant podcast. It was a great listen.
Yeah.
I mean, the differing opinions were great. I love how mad you guys would get at each other if one of you liked it and one of you didn't.
It was usually me. They'd be like,
"These are my favorite songs of all time," and they're like, "What are you talking about? That's blasphemy."
That's garbage.
You guys would rip each other at the same time, and it'd be like. And the funny thing is, some of the minute details. I mean, to know that this song was in C and it's all B major. And I'm like, wow! Like you really knew your stuff, and you with the time cues. Because you always had a pause after your time cues, like you were proud of yourself for getting it. You'd be like, "I like the song, especially the part at 2:32," and then there'd be like a pause. He said this. He played a bass line at 4:44. He went to the solo. That's how you did it. It was so funny.
The pause is for people to go and find it and play it.
Yeah, and then sometimes like you guys would review a song that I really liked, and you guys would crush it, and I would literally want it to be a call-in show. Like I was like, what? Where are they now? No, it was a great podcast. I hope you guys do more.
There'll still be more.
No, you should do more because there's more things to review.
Oh yeah.
You didn't do all the New Power Generation albums.
Yep.
You have those.
And there's a whole bunch of like associated artist albums which we haven't done. We just haven't got.
Oh, that would
yet,
be fun.
So.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I mean, there's still some Time albums we haven't done. There's Apollonia. There's Jill Jones. There's the first MPG album. There's still a bunch to do. We just never got around to it because there was always something else. Like there was an anniversary. Oh, we've got to do Purple Rain because it's this or whatever.
But you guys did a phenomenal job of every once in a while you would chime in about his current stuff, which I thought was really interesting.
I thought those were usually pretty negative.
Well, but even still, you were taking the same objectivity, or at least I thought you were taking the same objectivity. The other funny thing is when you guys the greatest Peach and Black line of all time was when you met Prince, and didn't know who Jim Crow was.
I'd heard the name, but that was the limit of my knowledge.
And he makes a very salient point about Jim Crow, and you go, "That's the guy that Tony M put his foot in his ass."
But the funniest thing, which nobody would know, was the look on his face when I said that. That was the most hilarious thing ever. I mean, you know his face. You know the faces that he does.
Oh, sure. To be a fly on the wall for that meeting would have been the
look
funniest
after
thing.
I said that was sort of like half confused.
You wanted to dig yourself into a hole.
It was like a bit confused because maybe he didn't get it straight away. Then there was like recognition of like, oh yeah, that. And then there was like this annoyance look on his face. Oh. It was just hilarious.
That is so funny.
Because I just started laughing as soon as I said it, and the MC was laughing. And then Prince and the guy, BET guy, the looks on their faces. Hilarious.
Oh, just too funny. Just too funny. That show literally had me laughing out. Like, I know they use the expression laughing out loud. That was literally laughing out loud. That is really funny.
It was a good one.
Anyway, thanks for having me on, buddy.
That's okay.
I hope to come on again.
We'll get there.
And thanks for the plug for ConTV.
ConTV.com.
I hope people watch the show. Go watch the show. The Avengers show here. I'll give a plug. If you go watch the Avengers special, it does not spoil the movie because it was shot before the movie came out.
Okay.
And 2 of the panelists are wearing nothing but body paint.
Well, that sounds good. As long as they're female?
They are.
Okay, then. I can watch that then.
And scene.
Okay, that was the second episode of Captain Says with Mr. Seth Everett. Thank you for coming. That's it. And now let's have some ridiculous theme music. The end.
1, 2, 3, 4.